Ascension News, Releasing an Ancient Darkness. This is a subject that feels timely because much ancient darkness is being released right now from the planetary light grids and also from our energy fields. We are passing through a powerful time in our collective awakening. Light and dark forces have pushed our collective evolutionary process to a critical point. In the next 2 years or so, it's likely that many starseeds on the planet will be called to awaken. And I'm talking here between 2017 and 2018. We're being pushed to awaken and align with our true authentic light. This process of mass awakening will probably continue until around 2032. At this point, we enter a new period of seeding on the earth. Now we're clearing out an ancient darkness. Anything that is not love is being pushed to the surface. Fear and separation consciousness are the hallmarks of this outgoing epoch. Love and unity consciousness are the hallmarks of the new age of light being birthed right now on the planet. Earth has been a dark planet for many thousands of years. We've just to look at what's been going on the planet to know this. We've been locked in a form of spiritual quarantine, and it's been quite challenging until quite recently to birth much light here. This has been an experiment in separation consciousness that's gone just about as far as it can go. Ask any starseed, someone not native to this 3D, 4D dimension of Earth, and they will tell you there's something very wrong with the way things happen here on planet Earth. There's something wrong with the way we treat the planet, the way we enslave human communities to work for short-term gains that in no way enhance life on Earth in the long term. Now ask any Earthseed, someone who's been stuck in the reincarnational cycle of this dimension for some time, and they will say they have no idea what you're talking about. Most people on the planet are Earthseeds, and to an Earthseed, spiritual awakening is at best seen as a self-centered indulgence, and at worst something to be feared and blocked. Cosmic interference goes back a long way, and it's certainly a truism to say that we're a genetically altered race. Now this statement has many aspects, both positive and negative. We have been positively assisted in our genetic evolution by a number of star groups, particularly the Pleiadian brothers and sisters. DNA material was gifted by the Pleiadians in the distant past, but in more recent history there's been a more negative form of interference, and our DNA became spliced with lower frequency DNA. This has made the human race more aggressive than it was originally conceived. At a higher level, this was a collective decision to help humanity explore separation consciousness. So humanity has both angelic and demonic potential. This no doubt explains much of our recent history since the demise of Golden Atlantis. There are dark forces on the planet that are anti-light and anti-evolutionary. Most of these forces are hidden, though as the energies shift they become easier to recognise. And this is all part of the great game of growth. Around the year 2000, dark forces became aware of what's happening in terms of the shift and decided to do something about it. This is all part of the great game of evolution, although it can feel a little tough for those working on the ground. Before 2000 it was a little different, and I remember the 90s as being fairly idyllic, spiritually speaking, with little interference from the dark side. We could manifest our car parking spaces with little trouble, and spirituality seemed light, joyful and hopeful. The world was less volatile in many ways. The new age of light seemed just round the corner. This all changed around the millennium when a plan was put in motion to block the ascension process by all means available. This plan involved utilising practical physical forces as well as lower energetic astral forces to block the ascension process. Lightworkers and starseeds were targeted and in some cases attacked, and this is how the game has been played out in the last 15 years or so. We are in a time where light and dark forces seem to be battling it out. This is also reflected on the inside, where the ego and higher self seemingly wrestle to determine which path will take in the future. On the one hand, the path of fear and contraction, and on the other, the path of love and expansion. This is the time of prophecy, and everything has to change. There are many prophecies around the world that speak about this time, from the Mayan calendar to the book of Revelations. They all say roughly the same thing. We are passing through a time of great spiritual darkness, to emerge finally in a time of light on the planet. There is much darkness and manipulation in most of our governing systems, and this is becoming apparent. Many starseeds are here working to expose this darkness. Just think, for example, of the warriors of love, the anonymous people, and whistleblowers such as Edward Snowden. Now, much of this darkness can seem very gross and evil that it barely seems possible or believable. Evidence in very dark practices in high places are slowly being revealed to the masses. Just think the Jimmy Savile case is one that links to many other dark groups. This is one reason why many old systems are wobbling badly. These systems are not aligned with the new energies coming in now and are ripe for collapse, ripe for change. The financial system is perhaps key to the whole process of global awakening, since currently this system serves to keep most of humanity locked in anger, anxiety, business, distraction, insecurity and fear. Capitalism in its current form is highly problematic because it's incompatible with the energies of the incoming age. The new energies are about collective cooperation, unity consciousness, whereas our current system is mostly about serving a very small number of people at the top of the food chain at the expense of the many. The dark has been trying to hold on to control through various subversive activities. 9/11 certainly was a last-ditch, desperate attack by the dark side to keep the earth plane locked in violence, war and enemy patterning, which is seeing a group of people as the enemy. Western leaders have been manipulated or persuaded to launch military invasions on the pretense of fighting terrorism. What this really is about is an attempt to control essential resources, gain strategic footholds, as well as making a few corporate chums much more wealthier. Most importantly, this game is about keeping the vibration of the planet artificially low in fear. Most of what we see on the world stage is heavily manipulated and designed to keep humanity locked in a frequency prison, restricting our ability to connect with the inner light and the emerging ascension grids within and around the planet. When the vibrations are kept so artificially low, it is difficult to know our authentic light. We are kept locked in negative ego patterns that keep us playing small. The good news is this frequency prison is no longer able to shut out the incoming waves of light. There are just too many starseeds on the planet, and the light bombarding the earth is just too strong now. The work of facing darkness must start with ourselves. We are multidimensional beings, and we have come through a long reincarnational cycle that involves experiencing both the light and the dark. At a soul level, we choose to know the dark, so eventually we can undo it in ourselves and our shared reality. I have met many light workers who are afraid to look at the dark. They only want to see what's light, bright, beautiful about themselves. Now, I understand the reasons for this totally. When we first come to the spiritual path, it can feel so nurturing, affirming and expanding. But at a certain point, when we've gained enough spiritual strength, when we've opened to enough inner light, it's important to look at these areas of darkness. The intention is not to reinforce our darkness, but to understand the lessons and to dissipate anything that no longer serves our highest path. When we look into this dark mirror, we start to feel and release any stuck emotions. We start to process unquestioned beliefs and the narrow ways we look at the world. When we embrace our light, we look into this dark mirror, and anything that's not of the light will be cast out. When we look into ourselves, we need to do so with great compassion. The same is true when we look at the darkness in the world. We are only triggered by darkness when we have unresolved dark patterns, beliefs, that somehow the dark is stronger than the light, or we have fear of the dark, or hidden vows with the dark, and so on. Looking into the dark mirror is a powerful process. I've been doing this work quite intensely since 9/11, which was a powerful wake-up call for many. A few years ago I set up a Facebook group called Conscious Media, where I invited people to look deeply into the collective shadow. I've had a lot of personal processing with very strong issues such as repression in countries like Tibet and Palestine. My heart has ached for the refugees coming from Libya and Syria. I have processed issues with corporations like Monsanto, who seem to care very little about the planet and everything about their annual profits. I've looked at how Western governments are becoming increasingly repressive and invasive. This list goes on, and I will not bore you with more details. The point is, after doing all this work, I feel I have burnt out most, if not all, of these painful triggers. I still see and hear what's going on in the world, but it does not rattle me, and I have great compassion. This process has helped me to become more fully focused on the light again. I feel I'm able to be of service rather than be overwhelmed by the enormity of problems in the world. Thus, the dark mirror can have a freeing effect. Looking into the dark mirror can help us uncover personal karma. All the dark reflections we see, all the abuse, violence, injustice, whatever the triggers, they all reflect something back to us, something important. They show us where we have been abuser or abused, tyrant or oppressed, master or slave, killer or slain, and so on. This is why some reflections hurt more than others. Some of us have had lifetimes growing through certain challenges, and now these patterns are being provoked and brought up by the light. The question is raised, if we look in the mirror and clear ourselves, then why do we need psychic protection? Why not just keep on cleaning and polishing up our own stuff? Because we're multidimensional beings, there's just so many layers to clean and polish, like layers of an onion. As we clear top layers, deeper layers reveal themselves. It's ridiculous to believe that we can clear out all the psychic stuff in one weekend workshop, or very quickly. When we start the process, we stir something up, like mud at the bottom of a bucket that gets stirred up when we clean the water. Because of this, it's important to know what to do when we stir up lower astral stuff. I would say those who only focus on the light without any awareness of the dark are being a tad naive. The dark is part of this 3D evolutionary impulse. There are forces that block and challenge and test us in order to create the drive and desire to embrace the light. Fortunately, we're not alone in this grand adventure of consciousness. We're not here in this dark matrix alone. There is much help on the inner planes. There's our higher self, guides, angelic forces, the Ascension grids, and many star beings that can help us deal and cleanse with lower astral interference. The light within Gaia herself is there to assist us. Energies from the central sun are impacting the earth via the stargate of our local sun. There are many star races and ascended beings focusing on the planet right now. There is much help in clearing out the dark, so there's really no need to worry about it. The end game has been decided upon. This planet is ascending. Those who wish to continue their soul evolution in a 3D existence can do so elsewhere. This dimension of the earth is shifting from 4D to 5D, and no darkness will be allowed entry therein. If we wish to experience heaven and earth, then it's time to face the dark and then drop it.